Giants of P. The initial draft of the Persona 4 protagonist design. You can see that even at this point, his bearing is very similar to the final designs. The finalized design for the Persona 4 protagonist. His sharp eyes are carefully drawn. The finalized design for Yosuke Hanamura. The defined bridge of his nose indicates that he's meant to be a pretty boy. A rough design of Yosuke Hanamura in drag. Since it's established in the game that Chie Satonaka selected his outfit, this piece shows an oddly believable female. The initial draft of Chie Satonaka's design. You can see that her silhouette is quite different from the finalized design. The finalized design for Chie Satonaka. The overall idea was a cute girl who could believably exist in this world. The initial draft of Yukiko Amagi's design. Here she's drawn wearing a rather retro-looking sweater. Another early draft of Yukiko Amagi's design. In contrast to Chie, Yukiko's hair was shorter at this stage. The finalized design for Kanji Tatsumi. The skull t-shirt and the jacket worn on the shoulders help sell Kanji's tough guy act. The initial draft of Kanji Tatsumi's design. Since Kanji was initially established as a delinquent older classman, this design was considered for him at one point. The finalized design for Teddy. The central point of his design was that he would be a character everyone could love. The initial draft of Teddy's design. There were a lot of abandoned experiments before eventually settling on the look seen in his finalized design. A rough version of Rise Kujikawa's finalized design. Since Rise is an idol who has tasted both the bitter and the sweet, she was designed as a girl who could express both. The initial draft of Rise Kujikawa's design. This early conception of her was as a female delinquent. The finalized design for Naoto Shirogane. She was designed in a way that suggested a boy detective. The initial draft of Naoto Shirogane's design. This version was suggested since the initial idea of Naoto's character was a short, pretty boy. The finalized design for Nanako Dojima. The key element of this design was a younger sister all the characters would love. The initial draft of Nanako Dojima's design. Since this design made her seem too independent, her design was changed later to the one seen in the game. Another early design for Nanako Dojima. Her design was changed from a princess-like little girl who has lived a severely protected life to the one seen in the game. The finalized design of Ryotaro Dojima. The regrets of a father who has reached middle age were incorporated into this design, which made it into the game. The initial draft of Ryotaro Dojima's design. It was established that he was a detective, but since it made him seem more like a suspect, his design was changed later to the one seen in the game. The finalized design for Toru Adachi. He was designed as someone who has a position of authority, yet is dull-witted and thick-headed. The initial draft of Toru Adachi's design. Since this one made him seem too suspicious, his design was changed later to the one seen in the game. The finalized design for Marie. Her design didn't change much from the early stages to the finished design.